Hello and welcome back to Blue Planet here on Paladin Gaming. We are at the start of War in Heaven, and there are many new entries in the log. Pilot's log, empty entry, personal log, Noemi Laporte. Have to keep log, important, leave something behind, want everyone to understand. The dossiers are all entirely different. FleetNet public profile, personal space, messages and bulletins. Feelinetics Limited, we have an update for you. Your meditation widget subscription has been updated with more than 2,000 new soothing stimuli. Cava Subtura Solaris 1, come on by. I've mixed up a new coping mechanism. Come by and try it out. I've also got a few friends who want to meet you if you're up for it. I look pretty good with a pilot on my arm. Kassim04.solaris.1. Sorry. I owe you for last night. Thanks for getting me to the infirmary. I feel great. Hey, I know you like all the Ubuntu meditation shit. It's not really my speed, being such a tough, cool guy, but I could take you to a session in Rec 3 tonight. Manuel Brie. In the gym, Manuel Brie is very quiet. You watch him at his weights. The oldest pilot on the Solaris makes no noise except his breath. He's a short man, a pug man who looks like he's been punched so hard he grew back as one big fist. The years have been kind to his strength, but you can see his arms shaking. He's lifting too much. When Brie talks, people listen. He's been around. A reservist before the war, now that the war's come home, a flight lieutenant with more time outside the simulator than in. You can hear that time in his voice. He says what needs to be said, and he says it so it's heard. Brie's your uncle on your mom's side, rest in peace, Mom, and you think he probably pulled strings to get you as his wingman. You think it's probably in violation of military conduct, but you trust him in a way you don't yet trust yourself. Still, he's lifting too much. Enabren Kassim. Shots! Kassim screams. Tequila shots! Oh no, you say. Oh no, no, no. No shots, Kassim. Kassim, would you please come this way? Kassim copes with stress by drinking it. There's technically no alcohol aboard the Solaris, as she's a military ship, but First Fleet is First Fleet, and Insect doesn't search for contraband. Laporte, he slurs, one arm around your waist. He does flirt with you, but only if he's sober. It vanishes when he drinks. Laporte, the door, the door. Let's open the door. With shots! Door's closed, you grunt, to the disappointment of Savchuka from Life Systems, who's been pouring your bourbon. She's not going anywhere, is she? She can wait. Up you go. Pull up, Kassim. Pull up, pull up! He staggers out of his chair. Boom! Crash! Fleet posted Kassim to the number 2 slot in your wing, and on paper he's a great pilot. In practice he's a great pilot too. His problems come exclusively before and after missions, when he cycles between A. Compulsively refreshing the news, B. Reading depressing letters written by dead people, C. Partying, D. Departying in sickbay, and E. Thanking Uncle Manuel for covering up his drinking. Today you caught Kassim curled up with a sheaf of Tev propaganda, which is not strictly contraband, Ubuntu being what it is, but which would earn him a stiff talking to. You're not sure what he was doing. He looked ashamed. He snapped at you when you said something, and then he invited you to the bar to apologize. More apologies may soon be necessary. What's over here, Kassim says as you carry him towards the hatch. Are there shots over here? Set a course for tequila, Alpha 1. Let's go talk to the nice man on sickbay, you say. I'm not sick. He frowns enormously, his mouth twisted up. I'm a perfectly healthy and reasonably detached combat pilot who has developed coping mechanisms for the psychological and emotional challenges of high-intensity warfare. You should tell Savchuka from Life Systems to invent a drink called the coping mechanism. But right now you have to take care of Kassim. You kind of like him, all in all. He's spontaneous, honest, energetic, competitive, and fun. I feel sick, he grunts. Coping mechanism's inadequate. Abort to trash can. You kind of like him, all in all. Martin Mandho, who you may remember from a snippet in Age of Aquarius. Today, on this 40th anniversary of our amputation from the stars, it is my heartfelt conviction that our time of strife is done. In the decades to come, we hope to build a community of compassion and pluralism here in Sol, a new model for the state and for the human mind. There is no more important work, no more urgent work than this work of human betterment. Ubuntu is a philosophy of human connection. Look around you. Look at each other. This is the shape of your future. UEF Command Personnel. There should be another N there. High-ranking flag officers of the United Earth Federation. Oh, it's talking about the below entries. Robert Byrne. Name, Robert Byrne. Date of birth, May 20th, 2337. Education, tertiary. Obtained Master of Business Administration from Keynes University in 2358. Graduated from class number 001 from UFA Staff College, Earth, in 2372 with a Master of Strategic Studies. Studied the philosophy of warfare with Martin Mandho at the Shah University of Earth in 2384 while serving on the Federation's Military Council. But what did Martin Mandho just say in his entry? Rank, Admiral. United Earth Occupational Specialty, Principal Action Officer, OS-1. Postings, UEC Ark Royal, Operations Room, 2359 to 2363. UEC Tarakan, Executive Officer, 63 to 68. United Earth Frigate Avalon, Commanding Officer, 72 to 76. What happened in those 4 years? Frigate Churchill, Commanding Officer, 76 to 81. First Frigate Flotilla, UEF First Fleet, Officer Commanding, 76 to 81. So the Churchill was the flag of the First Frigate Flotilla. UEF Military Council, Space Policy and Warfare, 81 to 85. United Earth Destroyer Solaris, Commanding Officer, 2385 to present. United Earth Federation First Fleet, Officer Commanding, 2385 to present. Performance Evaluation, Comment Excerpt. Submitted by Admiral Raja Shekhar, Officer Commanding of UEF First Fleet. Whilst quiet and determined, Lieutenant Commander Byrne exhibits strategic competence of an officer far beyond his years in exercises such as the Indra series, maneuvering the Tarakan always to provide maximum fire support to the remainder of the Strike Division. Byrne has consistently held his position in such exercises with vigor, consistently disregarding his own life in favor of others, and resisting the urge to break ranks to mount a counterattack at risk of leaving his charge open to enemy assault. Decorations: Commander of the Legion of Merit, 2385. Officer of the Order of Earth, 2382. Federation Service Medal with Star of Earth, 2374. Federation Defense Medal, 2363. Defending against what? Federation Cross, 2362. Conclusion: Admiral Byrne is a commander with the mindset of a philosopher, whose tactical genius is little realized by most, even within the Federation itself. Whilst not a battlefield revolutionary, Byrne's management skills shown in the Indra series of exercises conducted prior to the war, with his ability to dispose the fleet in a manner in which to allow it to fluidly respond to threats in 3 dimensions. Byrne's strong integrity and rigid discipline in line with orders is atypical of many officers, as observed during both the Indra exercises and his conduct during the war. Unwilling to mount a large counteroffensive, Byrne issues and continues to enforce strict standing orders regarding the defensive posture to be maintained by all fleets. Byrne's work with Martin Mandho on the philosophy of war may have been one of the distinguishing factors when selecting Admiral Rajashekar's successor as OC First Fleet, and why he is the incumbent OC. It can be surmised that his knowledge on the subject played a role in the collaborative strategy devised by himself and the Elders as to the conduct of Federation fleets during the war. Okay. Constant defense is a good way to never win. Kyle Netreba. Kyle Netreba is the current Commander-in-Chief of 2nd Fleet Mars. Among the triumvirate that commands the United Earth Federation Navy, he is the least military officer. Originally trained as an engineering specialist, software subspecialty, he switched to the command track after he demonstrated good leadership skills during an incident in which he had to take command of a frigate after its command staff died during combat. His market-based algorithms for logistical handling earned him the praise of the Council of Elders, a lasting relationship with scientist elder Svetlana Hendrickson, and eventually a place in the Admiralty. His leadership style is unorthodox. He has structured his command less like a traditional fleet and more like a design bureau, hand-selecting 2 fleet ship captains for their ability to think and act independently. Yet the outbreak of the war saw an abrupt shift in his disciplinary approach, including crackdowns on traditionally lax Martian standards. Some suspect Netreba sought advice from Admiral Calder on wartime conduct. During the war against the GTVA, Netreba found himself in a difficult position. Calder and Byrne used his fleet as a reserve asset pool for their own very different priorities, and Netreba feels increasingly dissatisfied with this position. His cooperation has not always been rewarded, either in terms of assets for his own order of battle or rest and repair time for his crews and ships. Between having to guard assets that are nominally in First Fleet's remit and supporting offensive actions by Third Fleet, his own command and the abilities of the people within it are being wasted, a state of affairs that he feels threatens Two Fleet's effectiveness as a unit. While the Admiral is unsatisfied with Admiral Byrne's strategic directives and much more comfortable with Admiral Calder's aggressive strategies, his ability to work with Admiral Calder is limited. Given their vast differences in command styles, this comes as no surprise. Where Two Fleet relies on each element acting independently in support of a broad strategy, the Jovian Rim Fleet relies on detailed pre-battle planning and pre-rehearsed maneuvers that can be executed with a minimum of forethought. Whether or not the two commands can overcome these structural differences and produce results when acting in concert will probably be one of the deciding factors in determining the war's outcome. And finally, Hans Maxwell Calder. Name: Hans Maxwell Calder. Date of birth: August 8th, 2315. So he is much older than Byrne. Education: tertiary. Bachelor of Arts, history. In fact, he's old enough. He's old enough that he would have been an adult at the separation. Bachelor of Arts, history from the University of Cambridge in 2353. Undertaken under the recommendation of Admiral McIntyre, then officer commanding Jovian Rim Fleet. Rank: Admiral. United Earth Occupational Specialty, Principal Action Officer, OS-1. Postings: GTC Fenris, Gunnery Control, 2334 to 2337. GTC Newman, Executive Officer, 2338 to 2342. Galactic Warfare College, Earth, Instructor, 43 to 47. UEC Shinzong, Commanding Officer, 47 to 53. Officer Commanding 4th Torpedo Strike Division, Jovian Rim Fleet, 47 to 53. United Earth Frigate Huangtiandang, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. Huangtiandang, Executive Officer, 57 to 62. United Earth Frigate Zhongxing, Commanding Officer, 62 to 69. Officer Commanding Frigron Alpha, 62 to 69. United Earth Fleet Forces Command Staff, 70 to 75. United Earth Destroyer Totatus, Commanding Officer, 76 to present. Officer Commanding Jovian Rim Fleet, 76 to present. Performance Evaluation Command Excerpt submitted by Admiral McIntyre, Commander-in-Chief, Joint Reaction Force. I think that's what JRF is. The Commodore's actions during the Indra series of exercises lend a window into his Manstein-esque strategies. Deploying his force quickly and aggressively, he has consistently compensated for his lack of flank support with overwhelming speed and aggression. Utilizing a combined arms concept, Commodore Calder has successfully engaged superior numbers of cruisers and frigates, with the Zhongxing and her Frigron maneuvering in a rolling scissors to provide mutual fighter and bomber cover as the Frigron's air complement is deployed in an offensive fashion to provide light support for the frigates. Decorations: Distinguished Service Cross, 2378. Citation: The Council of Elders takes pleasure in presenting the Distinguished Service Cross to Hans Maxwell Calder, Admiral Jovian Rim Fleet, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against a hostile force in the Kuiper Belt. Federation Medal with Star of Earth, 2372. Officer of the Order of Earth, 68. Jovian Cross, 2360. Jovian Defense Medal, 2353. Conclusion: The strategic competence of the Admiral is matched only by the ferocity in which he uses his forces in combat, as evidenced by his decorations and performance evaluations. Parallels are often drawn between him and Field Marshal Erich von Manstein. Both exploit the element of surprise, both compensate for lack of flank support and protective screens with overwhelming aggression and surprise, and both are critical of their civilian leadership. An officer whose military service ranks among the longest in the Federation Navy. I don't know, see how it could be longer since the service predates the Federation Navy. Calder draws in his experience rather than luck when in contact with Allied forces. Also of note is his multi-service background. It can be concluded that his knowledge of the Allied psyche and his prior leadership training prior to transferring to the Jovian Navy gives him a strategic edge over his pure Confederate counterparts. His tactics feature a combination of Terran aggression and Federation combined arms concepts. It is hoped these strategies will be imparted to the military council and then disseminated among the officer academies in the near future. It can be conjectured that, in contrast to his fellow fleet commanders, Calder's promotion was due to his raw skill on the battlefield, rather than any outside factors. His bulldog nature characterizes the rest of his fleet and the tight ship he runs within it. His aggression, combined with his skepticism of the Council of Elders, paints the Admiral as a wild card within the fleets, and an officer who sensed to rebel may get the better of his experience. We move to GTVA Command Personnel. Again, needs another N. High-ranking flag officers of the Galactic Terran Vasudin Alliance. Chiwetel Steele. Date of birth: July 13th, 2340. Education tertiary. Studied Bachelor of Battlefield Psychology at 3rd GTVA Officer Academy, Capella. Graduated in class number 45 on May 5th, 2361. Attended GTVA Space War College to complete Master of Strategic Studies in 2380. Completed an influential treatise regarding the application and design of Allied destroyers post-Nebula campaign. Rank: Admiral. Was fast-tracked after exemplary performance during the Vega Deck series of fleet exercises post-Shivan incursion. Changed occupational specialties in late 2367 after being reclassified Aviation Class 4 during Operation Astute 2367. Alliance occupational specialty: Principal Warfare Officer, AOS 1A. Postings: 47th Cutthroats, Pilot, 63-64. 66th Black Knights, Wing Commander, 64-67. 99th Skulls, Unknown, presumably Pilot, 67-67. Undertook change in occupational specialty to AOS 1A. Galactic Terran Corvette Britannia, Executive Officer, 68-74. Corvette Knossos, Commanding Officer, 75-79. Galactic Terran Destroyer Aeneas, Executive Officer, 81-84. Destroyer Atreus, Commanding Officer, 84 to present. 15th Terran Battle Group, 84 to present. Performance Evaluation, Comment Excerpt, submitted by Admiral Armanjani, Commander GTVA 4th Fleet. Steele's highly aggressive and precise nature makes him an interesting Corvette skipper within the fleet. He often plays on the psychology of his adversaries, implementing careful ambushes structured around feigned retreats that would earn him the praise of Genghis Khan. The Commodore's aggressive battlefield manner could be attributed to his fighter squadron background. However, he has yet to learn the art of restraint in regards to the pros and cons of overwhelming aggression during the engagement. Decorations: NTF Campaign Victory Star in 66. Epsilon Pegasi Liberation Medal, 66. Nebula Campaign Victory Star, 67. Medal of Valor, 2367. Citation: Lieutenant Commander Chiwetel Steele distinguished himself by conspicuous gallantry, exemplary leadership, and determination during Operation Astute while serving as a wing commander with the 99th Special Operations Squadron, 23rd March, 2367. Whilst carrying out interdiction of Shivan supplies along the MSR, Lieutenant Commander Steele's wing encountered heavy Shivan resistance prior to engaging the mission target. Lieutenant Commander Steele maneuvered his wing into a flanking position and eliminated the bulk of Shivan resistance in a charge towards the target convoy. As the 99th engaged the target, persevering despite tremendous pain from a combat injury, he continued to engage, providing cover for the attacking pilots. Lieutenant Commander Steele's actions saved the lives of the pilots on the sortie and directly contributed to the success of the mission. Allied Defense Citation, 2367. Well, that would be the tourniquet saving Admiral Steele's life in Capella, referred to in the Battle of Neptune briefing. Dilma did his homework. Conclusion: one of the youngest fleet admirals in the GTVA, Admiral Chiwetel Steele is a gifted strategist who appears to both despise and revel in the art of war. Tactical acumen combined with a deep understanding of the human psyche makes Steele a highly successful, if unorthodox, commander. Personal contact with the Admiral leaves an impression of a well-spoken, mannered, but distant personality, with a cool demeanor that gives many of his colleagues unease. His command of the Atreus has been controversial, and he is often accused of mistaking his ship's subspace maneuverability for that of a fighter. Though his reputation for insanity may be an uncharitable assessment of his command style, he is well known for pushing his ship and crew beyond GTVA regulation parameters. His crew rotations are 33% more frequent than most other destroyers in the fleet. Last audit suggested an increase in measurable fatigue among officers and crew serving on the Atreus, with a proportional increase in combat effectiveness. Cyrus Severanti. We just served under him. Admiral Cyrus, name Cyrus Severanti. Date of birth, November 23rd, 2335. born just after the separation. Education, tertiary. Studied political science at Hawkins University, Beta Aquila. Graduated in class number 1 on May 15, 2357 with the Security Council Sword of Honor for Leadership from the GTVA First Officer Training School. GTVA Space Command and Staff College 2369 to complete Staff Course 009A. Attended GTVA Space War College to complete Master of Strategic Studies in 2374. Rank, Admiral. Was fast-tracked after distinguished service during the NTF campaign. They've both been fast-tracked so far. Alliance Occupational Specialty, Principal Warfare Officer, AOS 1A. Postings, 3rd Fleet, GTC Fortune, Anti-Ship Warfare Officer, 57 to 60. GTC Heisenberg, Executive Officer, 60 to 63. GTVA Junior Warfare Application Course, Ribos, Instructor, 63 to 66. Corvette Steadfast, Commanding Officer, 66 to 69. Destroyer Masana, Commanding Officer, 70 to 73. Was he in command of the... 18 years. He was in command of the officer... He was in command of the Masana at the evacuation of the 3rd Fleet HQ. Interesting. 2nd Fleet HQ, Director of Space Warfare, 75 to 78. What was the gap? GTVA First Officer Training School, Commandant, 79 to 83. Commanding Officer, GTD Meridian, 83 to present. Commander, GTVA 13th Battle Group, 83 to present. Performance Evaluation, Comment Excerpt. Submitted by Admiral West, Commander, GTVA 6th Fleet. Severanti is a dedicated officer of the Alliance and a loyal Corvette captain. Consistently following orders and often maintaining his position under adverse conditions, Severanti is a model officer of 6th Fleet. 6th Fleet Pegasi, I believe. Decorations, yup. NTF Campaign Victory Star, 66. Epsilon Pegasi Liberation Medal, 66. What was he commanding in 66? Ah, the Corvette Steadfast. Order of Galate, 2366. Citation for heroism and conspicuous gallantry beyond the call of duty while serving as captain of the Corvette Steadfast, 6th Fleet in action against NTF forces in the Battle of Luzon Station, Epsilon Pegasi on the 4th of April, 2366. Damaged by NTF bomber assaults and without a fighter screen, Commander Severanti maintained his vessel's position to the port of Luzon Station's exit pattern, shielding the civilian transports leaving the station from heavy beam fire from the NTF cruisers Nakura and Kiowa, regardless of the risk to his own life and the lives of his crew. The Steadfast returned beam fire and assisted in staving off a large NTF attack on the station despite taking heavy damage. As the hull integrity of the Steadfast dropped, Commander Severanti repeatedly declined medical assistance, regardless of the fact he was wounded in the upper arm and back, instead insisting on his presence commanding the vessel. Coordinating a counterattack with the 341st Bomber Squadron, he promptly executed a flanking maneuver and destroyed the Nakura, whilst the 341st forced the Kiowa to withdraw. Commander Severanti's actions saved over 500 civilians evacuating the station and many hundreds more aboard Luzon Station, with his fine leadership and strength of character being a lasting inspiration to the men and women under his command. Allied Defense Citation, 2367. Conclusion. Severanti is both a competent officer and a loyal servant of the Alliance. Severanti's strategy appears to be conservative and often typical of the Academy's school of thought, rather than an independent strategy. Whilst a capable officer, reviewing the current positions held by batchmates and former commanding officers of his, the conclusion can be drawn that Severanti's selection for positions of authority, 13th Fleet Commander being one of them, was likely due to his association with present members of the GTVA Security Council and GTVA Space Forces Command, and his sheer ability as an officer and manager. In light of this, however, Severanti's decorations paint him as an officer loyal to his service and to his oath. The Luzon Station action characterizes him as a cool and determined operator under pressure, and thus Federation officers engaging the Admiral should be wary of his demeanor and avoid placing a likelihood of failure under pressure on Severanti. Rather, exploiting flaws in the GTVA space warfare doctrine should be a primary source of options that should be considered to counter the Admiral in space warfare. Finally, Anita Lopez. Anita Lopez, date of birth. I think the GTVA might use month date rather than date month. It's hard to tell. Anyway, 2330. Education, tertiary. Studied military science at 4th GTVA Officer Academy, Capella. Graduated Dukes of class number 2029 on... Okay, no it doesn't. So 5th May 11th, 2350. On September 20th, 2352. Rank, Admiral. Promotion timeline unknown. Believed to have been marked for fast-track promotion upon completion of tertiary education. Alliance Occupational Specialty. Principal Warfare Officer, AOS 1A. Postings, Operations Room, Cruiser Trafalgar, 52 to 57. Deputy Executive Officer, Destroyer Masana, 57 to 60. Executive Officer, Cruiser Fortune, 60 to 66. Executive Officer, Destroyer Carthage, 66 to 67. Division Commander, 2nd GTVA Officer Academy, Delta Serpentis, 67 to 72. Commanding Officer, GTD Carthage, 2372 to present. Performance Evaluation. Comment excerpt submitted by Lieutenant Commander Knight, Commanding Officer, GTC Fortune. Lopez is a brilliant tactician, bringing to bear full firepower of the Fenris through effective leadership in the operations room. A hallmark of Lopez's leadership is the rapport fostered among all operations room personnel. Lopez is greatly respected among all officers aboard the Fortune. Submitted by Admiral Christie, CO GTD Carthage. Lopez is a loyal executive, mature and diligent in her duties. Her positive attitude towards crew welfare, not only towards the members of the Carthage, is respected greatly by the entire operations room staff. Decorations: Allied Defense Citation 2366, Capella Incursion Campaign Star 2367, Nebula Campaign Victory Star 2367, NTF Campaign Victory Star 2367. GTVA Legion of Honor 2367, Citation Excerpt. Captain Anita Lopez, Galactic Terran Student Alliance, distinguished herself by actions above and beyond the call of duty on October 7, 2367, while serving as Acting Commanding Officer of the GTD Carthage GTVA 3rd Fleet during the Nebula campaign. Captain Lopez used the Carthage as a base of fire at the Knossos jump node in the Nebula, while subjected to heavy beam fire and anti-capital ship warheads from large numbers of Shivan craft. While providing overwatch for the mass exodus of Alliance forces from the Nebula, Captain Lopez was notified of orders to withdraw immediately, citing an imminent Shivan incursion. Aware that more ships were attempting to rendezvous at the Knossos portal, Captain Lopez maintained her position for a further 85 minutes, during which the Carthage and her fighters and bombers were able to repel wave after wave of Shivan attackers, including ships Corvette class and above. Captain Lopez's actions saved the lives of over 1,000 men and women of the Alliance, upholding great credit to herself, her crew, and presumably the finest traditions of military service. Conclusion: one can draw from the information presented that Admiral Lopez is a capable officer, loyal to those under her command, while possessing the tactical aptitude necessary to coordinate her command in an effective manner. From this conclusion, it is clear Admiral Lopez and all ships under her command are a significant threat to the Federation in whichever fashion they are deployed. Discretion should be exercised when engaging the Admiral because of both her inherent ability and her extensive combat experience. And as before, the intelligence will be a separate video. So this has been the first part of the War in Heaven database for Blue Planet War in Heaven for Freespace 2 here on Paladin Gaming. This is Paladin Gaming signing off.